Hello and welcome. You're watching CNBC TV 18 and this is our special series, The Climate Clock, where we discuss everything climate change, sustainability and its impact on economy and human life. Well, COP26 has finally ended and India has been in the spotlight. From big targets of net zero by 2070 to increasing renewable capacity to 500 gigawatt versus 450 earlier, and also the big talking point, India intervening to water down the language on coal usage to phase down from phase out. India also called for a hike in climate finance to $1 trillion. To discuss the outcome of COP26, India's stance and more, we have with us RR Rashmi, who is the from the Energy and Resources Institute. He is the Distinguished Fellow and Program Director, Earth Science and Climate Change. He dons a lot of hats. He was India's principal negotiator for climate change negotiations under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change for several years and was part of the climate change policy making in India in the run-up to and after the Paris Agreement. And also in 2018 to 2019, he served on the subcommittee of the Ministry of Finance on climate finance, amongst many other roles. Mr. Rashmi, it is a pleasure to have you with us on CNBC TV 18. Let's start with the first question. You know, so much talk about how India and China intervened at the last minute and watered it down to coal phase out versus, complete stoppage of coal usage. They have received a lot of criticism as well, to which India has retorted saying that it is unfair. Keeping that aside, what is your sense on coal usage when it comes to developing nations, any fossil fuel for that matter? If we phase out the usage or the subsidies, you think it will be economically feasible?
Well, thank you first of all for having me on your show. You see, coal is a part of energy system of any country, and more so in a developing country like India. It has a much greater role to play because coal currently is almost 65% of our electricity generation capacity, and in terms of primary energies, it's almost 72%. We depend on the fossil fuels. So coal is very important for our energy system as a whole. So singling out coal for phase out at the global level in this COP was a little certainly unfair, as you put it. And it was unfortunate on the part of developed countries to push for an undifferentiated time frame for phase out. And it was from this point of view that India insisted that there must be certain differentiation in the time frames in which coal production needs to be phased out. For India, where its energy needs are still rising, therefore its energy emissions are also going to rise, and it has still not peaked its emissions. It is not possible to agree on a phase out completely overnight. It will have to be done over a period of time. And Prime Minister has already announced a goal of achieving net zero goal, the net zero emissions economy by 2070. So in a way, he has already set the time frame for a low carbon development for our country in the long term. So question is, in the short term or in the medium term, what kind of strategy we will have to evolve? That is yet to be done. Therefore, it was not possible for India to agree to some kind of an immediate phase out, and therefore they insisted, and well enough, on the rewording of the rephrasing of the sentence into a phase down, which gives a little flexibility to country to decide the time frame within which it will move away from coal to ultimately a renewable energy based system. And the 500 gigawatt goal and 50% of total energy from renewables is a goal which Prime Minister has set out by 2030 itself. So therefore, coal will certainly go down in terms of ratio and proportion, although it will rise in terms of absolute figure. But even the absolute figure will start coming down as and when we develop our access to alternative energy sources like green hydrogen or energy storage based on renewable energy. So these are technological innovations which are required for us to actually move out and move away from coal.
Okay, so I do take your point, and of course coal phase out completely is not something that India can do immediately. But you know, the next big point of course is climate finance. We have such big targets. It has been a long-standing issue as far as climate finance is concerned. India in fact said that climate finance at 2009 levels cannot actually sustain anymore. We need to increase it to around $1 trillion level. Is that a reasonable number? Do you think the Glasgow Pact will be able to give us access to the climate change or the climate finance that developing nations are asking for?
It was unfortunate that at Glasgow COP, there was no specific commitment or agreement on climate finance goal. All that has been decided in the COP text is that they have admitted the developed country partners whose responsibility it is to provide climate finance, that they have admitted that they have failed in doing so as per Copenhagen Agreement in 2009 itself. So 12 years ago, they were supposed to have initiated the process, which they have still not completed. So what Glasgow COP has done is to say that this process of achieving the $100 billion goal will remain alive till 2025, and all the developed countries will continue to make efforts. But it is so many words. I don't know whether we will really see the light of the light at the end of the tunnel in 2025. But be that as it may, the issue is that of keeping this $100 billion goal alive, and also defining a new quantified goal after 2025. A process has been set in motion at Glasgow for this long-term goal after 2025. But these are still processes and procedures. There is actually no finance on the table available at the moment, and that is really the unfortunate part. But let me put it in a different perspective. If you look at India's climate finance requirements has been mostly met so far from domestic resources. All our energy needs are being met with our own efforts. The energy transition that we have achieved in terms of creation of 100 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity, we have done primarily with our own funds. But the stupendous goal which Prime Minister has now set for us, 500 gigawatt by 2030, which means 5 times jump in terms of renewable energy capacity in next 8 years. This obviously is not possible only with domestic resources. We will need international capital for this purpose. So, and the question is not of availability of capital. Question is of the cost at which this capital is available to us. That is why when we talk of climate finance, it means concessional finance or finance which has an element of grant. That is necessary to bring down the cost of capital and make the investment at a scale at which it is needed. So that is the kind of innovation which is required in the international financial system to provide capital at an affordable and concessional cost to the developing countries for meeting their climate needs and green investment needs.
Okay, so let's see how things really proceed here, sir, because that of course has the big talking point and the pain point in COP26 as well. But of course India did change the NDCs, made substantial changes, be it decarbonization, increasing renewable capacity, but they did not sign the methane pledge. And we have been talking about how developed nations are bigger emitters. What do you think India's next step should be in this regard? What are the immediate steps that India should take?
Well, for understanding the methane question, you have to look at the composition of India's emissions inventory. You know, agriculture constitutes almost 16 to 18% of India's total emissions. And as you know, the methane comes either from the mining activities or from livestock emissions or rice cultivation. And it is obviously rice cultivation and livestock emissions are part of India's agricultural system, where livelihoods are important, where productivity of economic system is critical, and we have to help the farmers. So we cannot afford to immediately do something in the agricultural economy, a part of our economy, where we bring down the emissions in a short time. So logically, India was very correctly, India did not participate in the methane agreement. But in the COP text, you might have noticed there is a language where it says that all countries will make efforts. There is no time frame given there, and these agreements are not binding unless they are converted into local legal regulations. So it will take time for India to move in this direction. But certainly, the overall objective is clear, that if we really want to address climate change, we also need to look at the issue of methane substantively. And I think India should do it in a manner that it protects the productivity of agricultural system and yet stabilizes the climate as well. This is possible only if we improve the water efficiency of our crops, make them drought resistant, make them dependent on less water, and we modify our cropping pattern. I think we will have to think about this over a period of time.
Okay, Mr. Rashmi, we will touch base with you again to discuss this critical part of methane emissions as well. We are completely out of time right now. Thank you so much for joining us with your valuable inputs.
Thank you.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18 for more news and updates.